Thank you, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I know you've got a busy schedule and we've got some competition, so I appreciate you coming here. I got to tell you, I went to school in New Hampshire. I have skied in New Mexico. I've been many times to New York City, and I grew up in New Jersey. Today you're going to hear about the new Pressure Biosciences. We're going to have to change our name. This is not the company, I see some very familiar faces. This is not the company that you've followed and maybe invested in for the last few years. This is a new company starting today, and we'll talk about that in this talk. First of all, what I have to do is remind everybody that we're publicly traded, and so please be careful and do due diligence before thinking about investing if that's what you like to do. I'm not going to go through any details. The details are in our filings and all. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my fourth publicly traded company. I started 3 companies prior to this that had a combined market cap of over $1 billion. I was either the founder or co-founder. Terrific, wonderful, hardworking people. I will mention Jeff Peterson, who raised his hand. If he stands up, he'll hit the roof, but if he raises his hand, you'll understand who Jeff is. Jeff is the best chairman anyone could ever have. I'm up for a raise, I think. So we're going to talk about pressure. Pressure is an amazing force in nature. Pressure moves at the speed of sound. It's basically instantaneous. Pressure can do a lot of things. I'm a scientist. I spent 13 years at Harvard Medical School doing research in virology. When we had to open viruses, when we had to inactivate viruses, when we had to speed up reactions, we used heat, we used cold, we used pH, we used chemicals. Pressure can do pretty much anything I want to be done, except I don't have to add it, I don't have to change anything. I just turn a switch, it's under pressure, I dial in the pressure I want. Pressure is an amazing force in nature. So all of our products and services at Pressure Biosciences, is our name, at the new Pressure Biosciences, is using pressure. You can take a look at pressure. You think about our car tires around 32 to 36 psi pounds per square inch. You think about a vise and turning a vise that's about 500. At the Marianas Trench, the deepest part in the world, the deepest part of the ocean in the world, 16,500. We're having this meeting at the bottom of Marianas Trench. 7 miles of ocean on the 16,500 psi. We get 45 to 60,000 psi instantaneously, very safely, and very reproducibly in our instruments. We are an instrument manufacturer. We make, we design, we sell instruments that allow the user to exquisitely control pressure. And it's not just used, it started in the scientific field. It's not just being used in the scientific field. We've got people in food and beverage and agriculture and cosmetics and nutraceuticals across the board and using pressure or thinking about using pressure. So I'm not going to go into the first two. I'll mention we have 3 technology templates. Pressure cycling technology with 15 issued patents. We basically turn pressure on and off. We control molecules by turning on. Think about it squeezing a sponge. We squeeze cells. We turn it on and off. We have 225 of the best customers you can imagine. These are top customers in the world, key opinion leaders, mostly in proteomics, all over the world. The FBI, the FDA, the CDC, Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Stanford. It just goes on and on and on, and it goes throughout Europe and Asia too. Verifold is a new technology we've been offering services. It has tremendous future. Verifold basically has the innate ability to turn pressure on and off, and what we're doing is we're fixing problems with proteins that are hopefully being used to be drugs down the road. But 22% of all drugs today are protein made. When you make the protein in the lab, things can go bad, things can go wrong sometimes, and the peptides that form the protein are supposed to be exactly right, and if they get misfolded, that protein will not have the activity it's supposed to have. In fact, it could be deleterious. When you put it under pressure, simplify and do a lot of other things, you just put it under pressure, you can unfold the protein, and when it refolds, it often will refold back to its native configuration and be active. Imagine $5 million of a vaccine that's misfolded. You can't use it. We can fix that problem. So we own 8 patents in that area. I'm not going to talk much about that today. I am going to talk about the new Pressure Biosciences, the one that announced today that we started an early access program using our very powerful, exciting technology called Ultra Shear technology, or UST. We have 7 patents already, include 2 in the U.S., and this is basically combining ultra-high pressures that can go up to 45,000 now. We believe we'll get up to 60,000 in the near future. It combines that pressure with very intense shearing. So we set up a machine, we designed this machine where we bring the material to high pressure or to a certain pressure, we let it go, it comes at supersonic speed, goes through this patented valve that shears it. Think about oil. Think about all of the things in this world that are in oil. Think about all the active ingredients, all the pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, vitamins, supplements. Think about the cosmetics and the nutraceuticals that all depend on getting that active ingredient out of oil. We're human. We're water-based animals, plants, water-based. We can't absorb oil very well. But if we break the oil down, we can get to that active ingredient rather quickly. So we're going to talk about ultra-shear technology. As I said, a who's who list around the world of our customers. So we start by talking about emulsions. What are emulsions? Emulsions are basically two or more liquids that you put together that really don't like to be together. And it's going to make a joke. I know it's being taped, so I better not. So they're not supposed to be together. So they're emulsions. Remember, you get a pharmaceutical. It says shake well before using. Apply liberally. Why? Because these pharmaceuticals, many of them are emulsions, and they'll separate. They won't work as well if they separate. We need to have that emulsion stay together. How do we do that? So emulsions are used across the globe in many, many different areas. The problem is that most emulsions are what we call macro or micro, and they separate, and it doesn't matter what field they're in. They have poor water solubility. They're not very stable. They'll fall apart pretty quickly. And they have poor what we call bioavailability because they fall apart. What's the answer? What's the solution? The solution, almost everybody agrees, are called nano emulsions. Taking the emulsion down to the nano level so that the oil droplets are actually smaller than the size of bacteria, smaller than viruses, down to 50 or 20 or 30 nanometers. So they're widely recognized. They become very water soluble. They have got exceptional bioavailability, nano emulsions. They have excellent long-term stability. And if you have a true nano emulsion, it should become clear, translucent. Current methods, a lot of people are using ultrasonic. It's inexpensive. We have a lot of issues with ultrasonic means. There's hot and cold spots. It's very expensive. You have to run it continuously. You'll have to get a homogeneous solution. And we don't think you can really very easily get many things down to the real nano level. Some people call nano under 200 nanometers. We call it for 300 nanometers. We call it under 100 nanometers. And we can get this using our ultra-shear technology equipment. We can use standard, we as users can use homogenizers and blenders to break things up and mix them. That's not going to get to it. Pressure homogenizers, we do have 2 or 3 companies that are competing that use pressure. They don't have the patents that we have. They don't have the most critical part of nano motion processing, which is that valve. So what happens in our ultra-shear technology is that we are uniquely combining these the high pressure and the shearing, and it's producing nano emulsions. You can almost dial in how small you want to get that. You can dial in. You want to go to 50, you want to go to 20. You can dial it in by determining how many times you're going to rotate it through our system. And it doesn't take very long to get to the system. So the number runs through the system. We have 7 issued patents, and the most important is the one in the bottom, the MicroCap valve. This is a very, very wonderful valve, very, very important to nano emulsion processing, developed by our scientists and engineers. And this valve will shear the material to the nano level. Now, a valve that's normally used in a non-UST method is a fixed orifice valve. It has to have a fixed opening, and it's going to clog. And the one thing we hear about people using the 2 or 3 other methods out there is it clogs. They clog a lot. When they clog, you can't stop. You got to shut it down, take it up, clean it, and put it back up. This is the valve that we've invented, and we have a U.S. patent, we have a Japanese patent, a Chinese patent, Australian patent. Throughout Europe, we believe by the end of the year we'll have those patents sooner. This one has a back force to it, so that when it starts to clog, that orifice is movable. The orifice will open up, the material will go through, it'll close back down to the nano level, material circulating around is broken up a little bit, and a couple times like that, the material is going to be down to the nano level. This is not going to clog. This valve is not going to clog. This is going to be used in a lot of places other than our customer base. We've had people calling us about this type of valve. So we have it already issued in a lot of places. So Where is the market? The market is across the board. Pharmaceuticals, health and wellness, cosmetology, nanotechnology, lubricants, across the board. We have started an early access program that I'm going to talk about. We're in active collaboration with a number. I got today an NDA from another multi-billion-dollar multinational company that has products that everybody in this room uses, and they want to know more about our method, and they signed an NDA today. And that's about the third or fourth we signed in the last 2 months from multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm going to show some data. I'm not going to spend much time. The most important part of the data that I want everyone to look at is I'm going to show data that where we've nano emulsified products in different areas, different targets like pharmaceuticals. So start prednisone. Many of us probably have used prednisone. Doesn't work very well. When the doc gave it to me 2 years ago for a rash, he said, apply liberally. I said, well, you got to make sure it gets in, so apply liberally. So I said, prednisone, there's a good material we should be using. But the graphs here are going to show how many cycles, how many times it goes around our machine. Only takes a couple of minutes to go around the machine. How many cycles? You can see it only takes like 2 to 10 cycles for most of these. And there's two things to pay attention to. This is the size, the nanometer size. So if it goes down, it means we're breaking it up and making that oil droplet smaller. And that means we're dispersing the active ingredient into billions of tiny nano-sized oil particles rather than just a glob of oil, which you just can't absorb it out of that glob of oil. And the other thing that you want to look at is this side, and this is how clear it is. So as it goes up, it gets a percentage clarity. It gets higher and higher clarity as the number of cycles go on. So what we want to see for nano emulsifying any oil containing any type of active ingredient, this one is prednisone, is we want to see the size of the particle of the oil going down so that now we have lots of surface area, and then we want to make sure that it's increasing its clarity. A good nano emulsion is going to be well down under 100 nanometers, and it's going to be up in the 75 to 90% clarity. So this is prednisone. As you can see, as we go through 6, 8, 10, 12 cycles, it goes down, it gets down to under 50 nanometers, and it gets to clarity about 80% clarity. This is retinol, which is a molecule that's in a lot of cosmetics. It's been in the news a lot. So we can see that as we nano emulsify it through 8 and 10 cycles, we've taken it. The beginning material we've already started. We've already done a rough macro emulsion from the starting material using blenders and things like that. So we start with this mixture that's pretty ugly, and it ends up being very clear. And I've got a couple of samples. So this is show and tell like in 6th grade. It's kind of exciting. So you can see that the oil droplet size is going down while the translucence is going up for retinol. This is Neem Oil. Buy it at your Lowe's and Home Depot and your drugstores. Neem oil has a natural ability to be an insecticide, and you can see that Neem oil, we brought it down to under 100 nanometers, and it became much clearer over that period of time. And we tested it out, and it killed spider mites in several of our guys' plants very quickly. Remember, as you get to a nano emulsion, it should become much more stable, much more water absorbent, soluble, and it should become much more bioavailable. So you can use less and get more. The manufacturers win, because if they use nano emulsions, they don't have to give you as much, and it costs them less, and you don't have to take as much, and we don't have as much getting into the environment or whatever it is. So it's a win-win-win. This one is on astaxanthin. If I put it back, this is on astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is considered the world's most powerful antioxidant. Astaxanthin comes out of krill and algae, and it is a very powerful antioxidant. It's pink, red in color. That's why the salmon and others get flamingos get pink, because they eat a lot of the krill to get the astaxanthin. Astaxanthin here is going down from very high, large molecules of oil, and it's going down to around 47, and it gets clear. But you can see it's a deep red, and it gets clear, translucent red. This is the krill, which is full of omega-3 fatty acids. Same thing that we see there. Here is algae oil, a very powerful amount of DHA from this. So whether it's supplements and vitamins or pharmaceuticals, in all cases, we across the board, we've shown a decrease in size with an increase in translucence. This is curcumin, which anti-inflammatory, a lot of people use it for. This has gone down to in just 10 cycles. It's gone to 37 nanometers. And again, we can dial it in. If we wanted it at 50, we'll stop it at 4 cycles. So we can dial it in. This is not something I know that any other company in the world can do. This is amazing technology. This is the new Pressure Biosciences. We released it today, and the gentleman we signed the deal with is in the front. I'm going to invite him up in just a second. So, CBD. CBD comes out of the cannabis plant in an oil. CBD, THC, CBG, all in an oil. When you're taking the product, it's probably got a macro emulsion of CBD, and the consumer's probably getting 10 to 20% at best of the CBD. The rest of it's being excreted in the oil from the body. We are taking that oil and we are nanosizing the oil. In this case, you can see we've taken the oil down to about 50 nanometers, and it becomes very clear. CBD will become very, very, very bioavailable. You'll need less to get more with UltraShear technology. This is a picture. This is the macro emulsion. It's oil that we just kind of shook up and blended. That's what it looked like. That's exactly what we look like. This is what it looked like after a few runs of UltraShear. This is the same material. The oil is so small, it's smaller than the wavelength of light, so light goes right past it, becomes translucent. This is the same material right here as this material. And this is the material 2 years later. It looks the same 2 years later. I've never seen any data ever in my life 2 years of rock solid stability in CBD. Here's a sample I thought everybody would like to see. Here's the starting material. You see the oil floating on top with the dirty water here. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 cycles. Now you're down to 46 nanometers. You started way up here at a macro emulsion, very high level, and we brought it down in just a few minutes to where it's translucent and it's never going to come out of solution. The nice thing about this is we can sterile filter it, so we can take out any viruses, any bad pathogens that might be in there by sterile filtering it through a 0.2 or 0.1 micron filter. This is so-called Nano Motion that we bought CBD on the market. When we poured it into a beaker, it turned into what you saw I just had as a pre-sample. Same material, we nano emulsified it using UltraShear, perfectly clear. So the last couple of slides, the value proposition, the only one I really want to focus on is UltraShear. We're producing nano emulsions faster, more reliable, more stable, and the machine is very scalable. I could fill this room with a machine and do any soda company that wanted to put something in every one of their containers. So the market is in the billions of dollars that we are, again, six I think now, multi-billion-dollar international companies have contacted us. When we look at the news that we put out, the most important news here is that we get to, a week ago, we announced this early access program. We had a number of people we've done trial runs with said, we need this now, not 6 months, 8 months from now. And one of them is here, George. And so the first manufacturing agreement was signed today. This is the last slide, and I'll have George come up. Basically, Captain George Ackerson, he's the founder and CEO of Safer Medical of Montana. He served 2 tours of duty. The first was when he was 19 years old. He went to visit Vietnam, and he was a helicopter pilot there many, many years ago. He has been developing with us. We've been developing a UltraShear technology-based nano-emulsified CBD product that's topical for putting on the skin. And in Q2 of this year, which we're in now, we expect to complete the formulation. We've been working on it for 6 months. We expect to follow by 2 pilot runs that George will get out to specific people. Q3, we expect to go to market. He's got good existing distribution channels. He sells a probiotic, which is maybe the best probiotic in the world. He has his own website, but he knows a number of veteran groups like this group he told me about today, about the nurses group that represent tens of thousands of nurses around the country. So he's going to go after veteran groups. George, as the sales begin, we're going to start with around, we think, a 40,000, George thinks 40,000 vial order of this material. And George thinks he gave me a range of 500,000 to 1 million, so I took the low end of that range. He thinks that over the next year or two, he's going to be needing 500,000 or more vials. Price estimate is about $60 a vial. We're going to have a significant revenue split. We haven't worked that out, but we believe it's going to be likely a part of the vial. And there's $2 signs next to the vial. I won't go into that other than say I didn't make a mistake by putting $2 signs next to the vial on what we expect to get per vial. And Safer Medical is going to partner with a nonprofit veteran service team. All George's profits are going to be donated to veteran groups and to animal charities. George says, Rick, I have enough. I've had a great life. I have what I need. A lot of people out there need just the basics, and we're going to help them out. We're going to help out our veterans, 80 million veterans in the U.S., and we need to help them out. So, George, you please come up here. We signed a deal. This is our first customer, with the Shear technology.
Bring this for a reason.
Now, as George has walked up, I brought these out from Boston, so I have to show you. This is, you can see this afterward. This is the pre-CBD material. It's just kind of ugly, like it was on the slide. This is the post material, which you can see right through. And this is the retinol, which is just deep orange and red, just ugly. And this is the retinol after 10 cycles. It's absolutely translucent. Look right through. This, I said retinol. This is astaxanthin. This astaxanthin is the most powerful antioxidant in the world. So, George, please take the microphone.
Okay. Why safer medical? A lot of medicine is not safe. I brought this up as I looked this up, just thinking around. In 2007, Merck paid $4.85 billion to settle lawsuits around Vioxx. How much money did you think they made before they paid that out? Seriously. And I'm not bashing, there's a lot of good pharmaceuticals. But you look at Vioxx, Zantac was the #1 selling drug in the world. How much did they pay? What does that do relate to what I'm doing here? CBD that these people produce is literally, from a combat veteran's perspective, shocking. It's safe. That's the first thing the FDA looks at. What does that 5 stand for? Okay. I take that one. The thing is, and I like this philosophy, we can all agree that education is the foundation for intelligence. Right? The caveat emptor, we are often educated only to the degree that someone else wants us to know. But these people are sitting, I've been working, I'm walking a little rough because I had used rugby and martial arts since I wasn't always a victor. I don't have any of that. I've got some production, some small amount, I've given away, I'm in the health field for 30 years. I work with internal medicine specialists, other doctors, etc. So I sent this to people that are very attuned to their own body. And when they sprayed this in the mouth, it was like, oh my God. And they have tried other CBDs. So being in the area that I'm in this all black, I'm involved with special ops guys all over the country. The Veteran Service Team is a 501c3. I think we're going to be, there's 20 million veterans in this country. And a lot of guys my age, there's a lot of them and their wives. Pain. The thing is, this product is so effective and fast, and you can dose up because, and I don't want to get into too many details about NDA, because this is an investment opportunity of a lifetime. That $900 billion is the tip of the iceberg. It's just fascinating. I mean, those numbers are hard to conceptualize. But this isn't just CBD, it's where their technology goes. But in this area of CBD and marijuana, etc., and other nutraceuticals, I can't say enough about it because I've seen its effects. I've seen its effects where I can compare it directly to other things that I've used because I'm a seeker. Basically, there's 2 types of people, like seekers, those are seekers and those are satisfied. Well, in my life and my health, I could improve on it. I'm very satisfied. I'll have a zero on my organization's salary. We have our own expert accountant for nonprofits. We will show clarity, just like their product has. It's very, very amazing, very clear, very effective. So not to belabor all their science, this product stands alone among at least a dozen others I've looked at, heads and shoulders above. And that's all I have to say. Proof is in the pudding. And we can make arrangements for you to get some of this. The product that I bought from them actually was on their production machine, so it wasn't like a little tweaked and tuned lab sample. And I'm just really excited. I mean, more than excited. Okay, any questions? I might just give a quick one.
Yeah, you spray it in your mouth and
you're
knees.
No, yes, it does. No, it's called buccal. It goes through the blood-brain barrier, and that's why you can spray it on topically for localized. But like I said, I've been involved in new drug development around the Oleander product. That we were the first non-toxic chemotherapeutic drug that our client trained clinical trial status at the Cleveland Clinic in the year 2000. So I've got a little history of things that are kind of outside the box. This is completely off the chart, but it's real. You're not going to be facing lawsuits. So that's all I've got to say.
So I think we made a product that was could be used orally and topically. The first product we're going to come out with this year, with George, is going to be topical, and we're going to follow it with.
Well, you can use. I'm going to use it orally.
I didn't hear that.
Well, we're not going to have a regulatory, so I've already worked on this. So it's okay. Thank you.
I've got the show and tell samples I have at the booth. I've got one-on-ones probably with some of you tomorrow. And I might have one or two spots open, I don't know. So I appreciate you guys coming and appreciate you looking at the new Pressure Biosciences.